Hi, my name is Ellie Gettinger, and I'm the Education Director at Jewish Museum Milwaukee. I'm delighted to share with you today on this holiday week about Thanksgiving. And there's this kind of sense of Thanksgiving that it has some Jewish connections. And I think for me, this was popularized from the book and the movie Molly's Pilgrim, in which the Soviet Russian emigre girl is asked to create a pilgrim. And everyone does these black and white dresses, and they have the normal kind of stereotypical pilgrim. And Molly's mother creates a pilgrim that looks just like Molly, and I believe her name was Masha. And this pilgrim that looks just like Molly, is she saying, why did the pilgrims come here? They came here for religious freedom. Why did we, as Soviet Jews, come to the United States? We came here for religious freedom as well. We're all pilgrims. So I loved this story as a kid. And so I think I always had this sense of the two being tied together. And there are some interesting connections. And I think it's also just interesting to note how, in terms of secular holidays, Thanksgiving seems to have like this big place for many, many Jewish people, to the extent that Jonathan Sarna puts this at a level of there are four secular, not all secular holidays, but holidays that he feels like are part of the American experience. One of them is Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving, Hanukkah, Passover, and the 4th of July. And this is a cycle of these four holidays of thanks and triumph and revolution and freedom. And that all four of these kind of go together. And I like that kind of idea of like not just our cycle of Jewish holidays, but our cycle as American Jews. How do we fit within that cycle? Share my screen. And this is our Jewish connections to Thanksgiving talk. So Thanksgiving, just quick history, was established as a day of thanks after the pilgrims at Mayflower had been able to harvest corn and such, with help from their Native American neighbors, particularly Squanto, who really showed them how to plant in this area and help them keep from starving. And so the Governor Bradford of Plymouth Colony says, we will make this a day of thanks. And there really is, if you think about, the pilgrims were incredibly and deeply religious. And in fact, there was once a thought that within the New World, because they felt like they were like the chosen people of the Bible, they felt like this was similar to the Exodus from Egypt. They felt like they were fulfilling a kind of biblical promise. They actually thought about making the language of this new colony Hebrew, because they felt like they were part of this legacy. So it is not a crazy assumption to feel like they're looking towards biblical holidays in developing this new day of thanks, and it's particularly in the realm of a harvest holiday. So the harvest holiday that they look to is Sukkot, that it's a day when you offer thanks for what has come in the harvest. It's at the end of the planting season. And this is actually a medieval tapestry that is highlighting the building of a sukkah and then the eating of a meal in a sukkah. And it both within Sukkot and Thanksgiving, there's this sense of giving thanks for the bounty that you have been able to possess. Thanksgiving as a holiday in the United States doesn't really actually come into accord until the 1860s. Actually, during the Civil War, Abraham Lincoln makes it a national holiday. There are varied presidents at varied times who call for a national day of thanks. A lot of different states have different Thanksgiving days, particularly in the Northeast. But there is no like unified, all of us will take off the fourth Thursday. And it actually is because this one writer, the writer of Mary Had a Little Lamb, Sarah Josepha Hale, keeps petitioning president after president to make a day of thanks, to make a Thanksgiving day. And because of her incredible work, that's why we're off this Thursday. Just know you can thank Sarah Josepha Hale. And also the fact that President Lincoln was looking for something to kind of unify a divided country. And this idea of giving thanks for what we've had, also eating, was resonant to him. Rabbi Elias Lieberman from the Falmouth Jewish Congregation of Massachusetts said, while we cannot be certain about what motivated these pilgrim settlers to initiate a feast of Thanksgiving, it is likely that they consciously drew on a model well known to them from the Bible that they cherished. Seeing themselves as the new Israelites in a new promised land, the pilgrims surely found inspiration in the Bible, the book of Leviticus and Deuteronomy, in which God commands the ancient Israelites to observe the Feast of Booths, in Hebrew Sukkot, to rejoice before Adonai, your God, at the time of the fall harvest. So I liked this as a way of kind of showing those kinds of connections, this real tie to that harvest holiday. And in some ways, this is how we see fall in the United States, is really through the lens of Thanksgiving. Within our Jewish community, I found this delightful article right after the collapse of the stock market. And this is an editorial from the Wisconsin Jewish Chronicle. You can check that date, November 22nd, 1929. And this is probably written by Nathan Gould, the editor of the Chronicle. And in this unsigned piece, he starts by saying, the American calendar offers only one occasion on which every citizen in the land of every sectarian and religious belief may freely observe as a holy day, unrelated to and independent of any sectarian event. It is Thanksgiving Day, proclaimed by the President of the United States as a day of national thanksgiving to the Almighty God for the blessings bestowed upon us. It is the most spiritual of our national holidays and the most, which he calls actually holy days, and the most significant to every American as an individual. And we hope that every person who reads these lines will give heed to its message. Now, he goes on to talk about how Thanksgiving he describes as a kind of Sabbath, where it's a day of rest. And he says, those pioneers thanked God that their very lives had been spared from the onslaughts of the elements, and the Indians that the earth had given up sufficient food to last them through the winter, and they had sufficient clothing and sufficient fuel to keep them from freezing, and that pestilence had not taken more of them than it had. And they were given an opportunity to expand their strength on blessing out the soil of a continuance of life. But in this point, they make a left turn here and talk about how right now, because it's right after the collapse of the stock market in the beginning of the Great Depression, which at this point, they don't even know how deeply the Depression is really going to hit people. They're saying people don't see anything to be thankful for. And he's saying, but look at how much more we have than those pilgrims from hundreds of years ago. And he goes on to say, and I think this is one of the things about being an American Jew, is he says, how about the blessings of a form of government that gives the right to worship God in any form we wish, without the fear of being burned at the stake by the established church tyranny? How about just the privilege of being an American citizen with the limitless opportunities of building up overnight what we lost the day before? Thanksgiving, what for? For our schools and colleges, hospitals, libraries, courts, churches, and synagogues, automobiles, telephones, radios, moving, talking pictures, newspapers, magazines, books, paved roads, metropolitan sewage disposal, and the multitudinous products of art, science, and government that make life worth living, and which we so little appreciate. Let us think about these things on Thanksgiving Day, next Thursday, and thank God for the blessings that we already possess such great abundance. And I liked that idea of just thanking for all of the ingenuity, all of the things that we can see, but also bearing in mind this is from 1929, all of the things that we can do to make it a more perfect union as well. Interestingly, one kind of rough side note is turkey, which is our central, food for non-vegetarian people on Thanksgiving, is a New World bird. It's not a bird that was in Europe or in the Middle East. And when you're looking at the rules of kashrut, it's a little bit interesting. How does turkey become a kosher bird? And turkey is called turkey in English, but everywhere else all over the world, for the most part, it's called, including in Hebrew, it's called Indian chicken. So in Hebrew, it would be called tarnagal hodu, Indian chicken, because there's a sense that it's come from the New World, the Indies, and this is Indian chicken, India, not from India. Although tarnagal hodu actually means from India, not Native American. So there's some dispute upon this. Some rabbis say, nope, you can't eat a New World bird because it's not going to be it's not, we don't know that this would be kosher. Whereas others say this has the same markers as, say, a chicken or a pheasant or a grouse, and therefore it's okay because it's not one of the 24 birds that are considered to be not kosher in the Torah. So as long as it's not part of those 24, then it's fine. As we're finishing up and we're thinking about our turkey, I just want to give one last shout out to one more Jewish connection to Thanksgiving. In 2013, it was the first time since 1861, which is actually before Thanksgiving became a national holiday, that Hanukkah, and it was the first day and second night of Hanukkah, merged. And some people said it was 70,000 years in the making. It's that particular day won't happen again, I think, for 70 more thousand years, although there is the potential in the year 2070, which some of us might actually see, that you can have the first night of Hanukkah happen on Thanksgiving. So just so you know, this was a moment in which Jewish people all over America started, they made turkey menorahs, they had all sorts of latkes at their Thanksgiving table. And it was a lovely connection between these two pillars of kind of American Jewish life, the Hanukkah celebration and Thanksgiving coming together. Thank you so much to my colleague Emma, who helped research this museum moment. And thank you also to Robin Cohen for her support of these museum moments. If you want to learn more about Jewish Museum Milwaukee, check out our website, jewishmuseummilwaukee.org, or you can visit us. We're open Sunday through Friday, and we'd love to see you. We will be open the day after Thanksgiving. Thanks so much and have a great day.